Aloha and welcome to PTC'25 in Honolulu, where I'm now joined again by André Busnardo, Commercial Director at Tecto Data Centers. And André, we were just talking about the state of the Brazilian data center market. But now let's talk about what Tecto is doing in that market, because you guys are quite new in the play. You started in September last year. You've got a big company behind you, Vital, which has been in the telecommunication space, the fiber space for a long time, for more than a decade. Before we jump into specifics of the project, give us a general overview of Tecto Data Centers. What's the idea, what's the dream, and who's behind it?
Okay, so as you said, we started as a division inside Vital, and we started, in fact, some years ago with the subsea cable business. And as we evolved that business, we started working with international customer in having some collocation in the CLS, in the cable landing station, where the subsea lands in the shore, the continent. And from that initial deployment, we saw that there was an opportunity there to enhance that business, building not CLS space for collocation, but data centers, world-class data centers.
Yeah.
And we started with two projects, the first one in Fortaleza and the second one in Barranquilla in Colombia, both next to the CLS.
Yes. This is through the Vital brand still?
Still to the Vital brand. And that when we delivered, when we had that data centers ready, the market demand for them was very interesting. So especially in Fortaleza, we launched it less than 2 years ago, and we still have space there because we just released some new space, but the space that we had released has all been sold. So we saw that we had a very good market position, we had a solid customer base, and we had a lot of backing of investment. We decided to expand that, to put this in a specific brand, to have more focus on the data center business, and to grow in two paths. One, in the edge facilities. These two sites are edge facilities. Yeah. So we are growing to more locations, and also to participate in the hyperscale business. So our most recent announcement, for example, was the acquisition of the land and the start of construction of a big site, a 200 megawatt site in Santana de Parnaíba, next to São Paulo.
$1 billion, yeah.
$1 billion investment.
Yeah.
That 200 megawatts is inside that $1 billion investment, correct? So looking for the future, that's what we see, to play in both markets, the hyperscale market and the edge market. And we believe that this will be in the future with new applications such as AI, 5G, and IoT and everything. They will be a lot more integrated than today.
Yeah. But very interesting, because usually, so I guess in places like Europe, for example, we like to separate everything. One company does edge, one company does hyperscale.
It's very normal.
How does Tecto manage smaller facility with a mothership facility? How does that work strategy-wise? How does it work?
Yeah, you're right. We see the landscape, the competitors, and we have the bigger players looking at the hyper side, concentrated in São Paulo region, and we have some small data centers in the edge space. So, as I said, what we believe is that more and more, both in cloud and in AI, we'll have the big developments, and we are organized to participate on that. But the delivery of this machine learning, of this AI, the application will be in the edges, okay, and they will require more dense and bigger facilities, such as the ones that we are building. Okay. So that's a little bit of the play. In terms of internal infrastructure, that was one of the reasons of the $1 billion investment, of the creation of the brand, of the not being a business unit but the whole company, because we have built and we are growing the team in order to have the capacity to manage all these projects both in the edges and in the hyper market.
Okay, and then I assume that once a piece of data goes into an edge facility, for example, if it needs more power, it will automatically go into the bigger sites for processing.
Yeah, in a certain way, yes. But what we are seeing is, as the market responds, we don't even need to do that. For example, Fortaleza, we have our first project there, Big Lobster.
Yeah.
As I said, with this is a 4 megawatts facility, IT, with 10 kW per rack. And what we had available, we sold. Now we have some space because we expanded.
Yeah.
But due to the market reaction, we are building Mega Lobster, which is 500 meters for there, with 2.5 times the capacity, with 10 megawatts IT, 20 megawatts total. In fact, it will be more than 10 megawatts IT, it will be 12, 13.
Yeah.
And with a higher density, instead of 10, we have 15 average, being able to have some workloads with more than 15.
Yeah.
And obviously they are all integrated to the subsea cable. So we, as we grow in the edges, we also will expand the footprint in the region, but everything is integrated and communicated both by terrestrial and subsea, and obviously we can do what you mentioned, putting workloads, communicating and working together in the whole ecosystem.
Yeah. Navigating through the projects, you've already mentioned the Santana de Parnaíba project, $1 billion investment in the long term. How's the project coming along?
We just announced, recently the acquisition of the project, and we have some very recent good milestones. One of them is the beginning of earthworks, and the second one in the energy side. In Brazil, you have multiple steps to allocate and to guarantee the energy, especially when you are talking 200 megawatts. Yeah. So very recently, we had a license or a permit or a go-ahead from the utility and from the integrated system, called in Portuguese parecer de acesso. I won't translate that. It's the name of the document. It would be like an access permission
kind of thing.
Yeah, for the capacity that we required, and this is and this is very, very unusual for other companies to have such in the beginning of the project. So this will help us a lot in bringing that to the market and turning into reality in the short-term frame that we want.
Is there an example of the energy grid in Brazil kind of understanding the importance of data centers? And are they willing to support? Because what we're seeing in the world right now is a bit of a blame game. You look at the US and the energy guys are saying, well, data centers came in, they never spoke to us, therefore we don't have energy for this because no one ever told us this was going to happen. In Brazil, is it more friendly in a way, like the relationship?
I see it as more friendly.
Okay.
We have some organized discussions where not only the data center industry is participating, but the integrated system people, they are willing. They are seeing the opportunity and they are looking at, we can't be a barrier for that. So they are working with us in mechanisms to organize not only the generation, the transmission, but also the ways for you to ask for that in order not to have like a big line of projects that will not happen. Yeah. So this is all being worked, and I see as part of the discussion, trying to solve and trying to enhance the situation.
Okay. And then when it comes into the field of sustainability, of course we've already talked about renewable energy and it's quite abundant in Brazil, but what does Tecto look for in terms of sustainability? How do you ensure that these sites hurt the planet the least? Because there's always a bit of pollution that comes out of these sites, and it will never be 100%. And I think the industry in the last 2 years has kind of agreed to it, but we've got to reduce as much as we can. So what does Tecto do to reduce the footprint as much as possible, especially from an energy perspective, and water usage?
Yeah. So our agreements on auto production in generation is 100% solar, and the goal both for Tecto and Vital is to be in 2027 100% renewable, and that's where most of our data centers, new data centers, will go into production. So Santana project, for example, will go live with 100% renewable energy, and apart from that, as we mentioned before, we are always working and looking at solutions that can be more efficient. We talk about liquid cooling, for example. Everybody talks as a need for more density, but it's also more efficient in terms of cooling the data halls. So we are looking at everything.
Are there any, and this is a completely almost off-topic question, but are there any reporting criteria that companies have to do in Brazil for the government? For example, in the EU, the EU requires that any business has to report the consumption, the pollution levels, also things. Is that something that Brazil is looking at as well, reporting metrics?
I'm not aware that we are obliged to do. We adhere to certain standards because it's interesting for us, for the society and everything. But not that I'm aware, I think we're not. For example, in our subsea business, we need to give information not only for the Brazilian but to the U.S. government. But in the data centers, not that I am aware, but we do because of all the standards that we want to sustain.
And again, data centers is a global industry, so it's kind of more organized in a way as well. And I think each country is kind of following the best practices from other countries, so because it will come at some point.
Sure.
And then when we look, of course, you've mentioned the project in São Paulo, Santana de Parnaíba. Are you looking at replicating this in other places of Brazil? Are we going to have another 1 billion, multi-billion deployments in other cities?
Yes, we do. We currently, we just started the construction of this one, but we look at other regions. Some of these regions are, as we mentioned before, most likely edge facilities, but we look at places where we can develop both edge and hyperscale depending on how customers will require. And I'm talking about Campinas region, obviously. We have exclusivity on land, we have some options there. And we also look at Rio, Brasilia, and Porto Alegre as potential places for huge, large-scale developments.
Okay, interesting. And then, of course, from the Vital portfolio, you have some edge facilities outside of Brazil. What's the plan beyond borders? What countries within LATAM, or even beyond LATAM? What's the international roadmap? And that's the part you say. I can't say it, but you say as much as you can.
No, we do. We started already right in the beginning. The second one was outside of Brazil, in Colombia. So for sure, we understand the complexity of the region and the needs of our customers to have a Latin America platform. We know that every big tech wants to look at the providers and see Tecto as capable of delivering where they need. Obviously, we have a lot of opportunities here in Brazil. And this is like, there's a lot of investment going on, so we also don't want to say, okay, I'm going everywhere at the same time. We want to deliver with quality. But we do look at other countries, and I can't say a lot about that, as you already imagined, but we are talking about, obviously, Colombia, where we are already there. We will expand for sure there, but also the other regions where big techs are looking. Everybody knows today Chile and Mexico are where these guys have regions, but also maybe new countries for the future.
Beyond LATAM?
Not in the short term.
Okay. When we look into Vital of 2030, so in 5 years' time, and a lot of the projects will be online by then, will have been expanded as well. Where do you expect Tecto to be in 2030 in the wider playing field of data centers?
That's a nice question.
I mean, how big is the dream, basically?
In
5 years.
Well, as I said, we have the team, we have the skills, we have the financial backing, and we have the infrastructure provided by our partner Vital, the terrestrial connectivity and the subsea, in order to do something a little bit unique. So as we look forward, and I would say this is less 2000 and you mentioned 2030, right? 5 years. So
5 years.
No,
I'm still in 2024, so it took me a while to do 25 plus 5.
It's a good time frame. I see ourselves playing in this hypermarket, being a top provider in the cloud and AI machine learning, and already having this integrated with the deployment of these solutions in cities where we have world-class edge data centers. So the training of the model that will happen in our data center in Santana de Parnaíba or in Campinas or whatever in these regions will be delivered in Fortaleza, in Porto Alegre, in Belém,
kind of replicated.
In our own data centers. And I think the big techs will see us as a unique provider that can handle both opportunities.
As the demand grows, and I think it's fair to say you're mostly an organic expansion follower. So you buy a site, you build an infrastructure, but will you eventually change to some inorganic as well? Could you get into an M&A deal and buy something that already exists and then of course convert into Tecto standards? But is that part of the roadmap?
I think we are always looking at opportunities that make sense. But the main goal is to grow organically.
Build yours.
We have a medium long-term plan already designed with a lot of investments. So more organically, always looking at the market for opportunities.
All right. Then Andrea, last question. What's the question that I didn't ask you that you wanted to be asked?
That last one was very nice, and let me follow on that.
Usually people struggle with that. It wasn't meant to be that easy.
No, because just give an example. Brazil is a continental country, so when you have these applications being deployed, and we use a very simple one, very easy to understand one, which is like the autonomous car, for example. The processing in an autonomous car, it doesn't happen 100% inside the car. Part of it is in the car, part of it's in the network. And if you have someone driving in Manaus, which is like closer to the US than from São Paulo, maybe.
Which is great. It shows the size
the decision can't go to São Paulo and go back. It needs to go to a data center in Manaus or in Belém, where we'll have these kind of facilities and process it. So I think this is the opportunity that we are going after, and I think it will be unique. That's why I like your question.
No, I mean, it is a massive geographical area. Even when we look at the world map does not show the true size, because we know the southern hemisphere is quite shrunk compared to the true size. So it's a huge piece of land. Then you add things like Argentina, Colombia, Mexico's and all that, then it's a big piece of land. So I'm sure you guys are going to be very busy over the next 5, 10, 20 years.
We will.
We'll see where we are then, if we still have a planet, but we'll see where we are.
For sure.
But André Busnardo, thank you so much for talking to me.
Thanks for having me.
It's always a pleasure, and hopefully I'll see you here next year, and I want to hear what happened since then, organic and inorganic.
It will be a pleasure.
We will do it again. As for your home, thank you for watching, and don't forget to check our website and social media for the latest digital infrastructure news from across the globe. At Tech Capital, you lead, we report. Bye for now.